You're on.
Okay.
Oh, stop.
The battle with the left is not over. It's nowhere near over. I saw somewhere today they were saying that the liberals have been defeated. They have not been defeated. The devil has put a lot of effort into creating this mass confusion that is called the Liberal Party today. Mass confusion. There's no other way to say it. If you read in the Bible, getting the devil out is not an easy task to do. Every time the Lord told the devil, every time the Lord told the devil to come out of a person, he would always throw a fit. The Bible says in one place in the King James it says, and then the devil tore him. You know, the idea of ripping something. Always tore him before he came out. It's his nature to do that. And all this stirring up and all of this fighting and shooting, thrashing about that the liberals are doing, it's a sign that the devil is coming out. So where are we in this event of casting out the enemy? Where are we in this event of casting out the enemy? Well, here's where we are. Hillary has been knocked down. Now, I told you this was like the battle between David and Goliath, and it very much is. It very much is. Almost every battle seemingly goes through the same process between the Lord and the devil. The devil knows when it's coming. He can see the things. He knows when he's going to lose, and he knows when he's going to win. But that doesn't stop him from fighting. And this is one battle, folks, that the devil is going to lose. He's going to lose. And this is why. Because it is time for God's champions to stand up. The Davids of the land are standing up. Trey Gowdy is one of those God's champions. I am one of those God's champions. A lot of you are listening, are one of those champions of the Lord. Now this is where we are in the battle. The Bible tells us in 1 Samuel 17 about, go down and read about verse 48 down through the rest of the chapter there, and you could read the battle between David and Goliath. And what happened was David hit the giant and knocked him down, and he was laying there. And he was laying there and probably thrashing about. You know, when there's a head injury, you ask any doctor. You've seen this on some of the TV shows. When there's a head injury, this, you know, unless he's just totally knocked out, it's thrashing about. I mean, thrashing about. And some scientists say that the stone actually sunk into his forehead, Goliath's forehead. Now, I don't know about that. You know, I mean, we'd almost have to be there. But it knocked him out. It knocked him down. And I'd imagine that he was probably thrashing about, because the Bible says David ran, verse 48, and David hastened and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. Okay, that wasn't where he cut his head off. Okay. Okay, verse 50 says, he smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in his hand. Therefore David ran. There you go. and stood upon the Philistine. He stood on him. He's big enough for David to stand on. And took his sword and drew it out of his sheath and slew him and cut off his head therewith. Now that tells me that he was probably thrashing around when David stood on top of him. Stood on top of him to steady him. Then he took his sword and cut off his head. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? So, and that's what the devil does. Now here's where we are, okay? Goliath has been knocked down. And we are busily going forward with what we're supposed to do. Okay, but now somebody has to stand on Goliath and steady him, because he hasn't been killed yet. He's not out of it. Goliath very much could have gotten back on his feet and wiped little David out. He wouldn't have been such a fool next time around as to let David hit him with that sling again. You know, so this may be a one chance deal, people. You know what I mean? This may be a one chance deal. We have to get this done while Goliath is down. Hillary has been knocked down. Hillary has been knocked down. And she's right now, she's thrashing about. I want to recount. I think something terribly went wrong. I don't know what happened, but we were cheated. We're going to count these votes here. You know what? You know why they're not saying count the votes in California? Come on, think about this. How many illegals are in California? You know why they're not saying count the votes in Illinois? Because that state is filled with illegals. Same thing in Ohio. Same thing in Florida. They're not saying count the votes in none of those states. You know why? Because they know that will point to about 10 million illegal votes. That's why they're saying not count those. They're saying count the votes in Michigan because that state was, number one, it was on the news, but there is a lot less chance of illegals being in Michigan. And there's some there, but they're not going to find near as many as what they'll find in Florida, California, Illinois, Ohio, and places like that. Though, that's, you know what, they'll say, okay, we're just going to count California's votes over. No, they won't do that. See, she's thrashing about. That's what I'm talking, thrashing about. And this fight is nowhere near over. Here's what's going to happen. Same thing going to happen here with David. After David slayed Goliath, after Hillary is locked up, this battle is going to continue. I'm predicting the next 4 years. This next 4 years is a battle. Will be a continuous battle with ungodly liberals thrashing about, and the TV, the liberal television. Oh man, you talking about throwing a fit. I mean, you ain't seen nothing like what they're going to do. You haven't seen anything. But that's okay, because God's got plans. Even for liberal television, folks. Even for liberal television. There is laws already in place that can close the mouth of the lying liberal media. And the key word there is lying. Lying liberal media. Not just one law, there's several laws that a godly government can fix them with. You know what? Here's a hint, okay, to it. In the same category that was written, freedom of speech for the liberal media, was also written freedom of speech for preachers of this land. Look how that the preachers of this land have had tape closed over their mouth. The very same thing can happen to the liberal media. The laws are already there. It's in the same First Amendment. They're worded side by side. Side by side. So yeah, there's a lot of things. That's only the foundation, and it spreads out into a lot of different areas from there. So yeah, this battle is winnable, but folks, we must fight it in order to win it. Are you understanding? We must fight this battle in order to win it. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Another great message right here across in the Middle Ministry.